Hello, folks. So, as hinted in the last episode, which is also the first episode of the Rust series, in this video we will be discussing about variables in Rust. And if you are following the Rust book, this is the first section of the third chapter, and here also you can read about variables. Moreover, you can also follow my blogs on Hashnote about Rust, and this is a blog on variables in Rust, and today we will be discussing the same. So let me go back to my VS Code and create a new project. And we have already discussed that using the package manager cargo, we can create a project by writing cargo new and then a project name. So I will name it as variables, nothing creative. Now we have this project folder and inside src we will have the main.rs and we have one println hello world function. I mean basically whatever prints hello world. So cargo run will print hello world. Okay, so here we have an error, and that is because we have to also get inside the variables and then run cargo. And it is building, and we have hello world. Now let's try to understand what are variables in general. So in programming, you can consider a variable to be a named storage location that stores as well as manages some memory. So what it means is that I can write let x equals to 5, and here x is a variable because it has a name. In this case, it is x, but it can also be Bob Dylan, and it is storing the value 5, but it can also be 5 million. And here I want to print out the value of x instead of hello world, and I can do it by writing something like this. And now if I do cargo run, we are getting x equals to 5, which is correct because right now x is storing the value of 5. Now in Rust, one thing to note is that we cannot do something like this. This is quite strange if you're using JavaScript, but this is how it works. So the error is saying that cannot assign twice to immutable variable x. So in Rust, all variables are immutable by default unless you consider making this binding mutable, unless you specifically use a muti keyword, which is the shorthand for mutable. Now you can basically reassign x equals to 6. And then if I print out x, now you will see we have x equals to 5 and then x equals to 6. So this is how basically we make variables mutable in Rust and then change their values. But there is also another way, and that is we have to redeclare the value. So we will redeclare x equals to 6. And this is also something that we call shadowing. And that is because the second x is basically shadowing the first x. And now if we run, we will get the same thing, x equals to 5 and x equals to 6. And let me also tell you that you can also print out variables like this, and we will have the same results. Now, the basic difference between shadowing and mutable is that if we want to change the value of x once again, we have to redeclare again. Basically, we have to shadow x once again. But in case we are using mutable x, we don't have to redeclare again and again. So we can remove this shadowing part. And I mean, you understand what I'm trying to say. You don't have to like you can basically change x directly. So this is how we declare variables in Rust using the let keyword and make it mutable using the mute keyword. Now, there are also constants in Rust. So we can declare const, let's say y equals to 2, and that's it. Now, if I run, we are getting some errors, and that is provide a type for the constant. So it is asking for a type. So we have not yet discussed about data types, but for now, I will give it I32, which is basically saying that it is an integer. We will discuss this in the next episode. But now, as you can see, we are not getting any errors. But if we try to redeclare y, let's say y equals to 5, now we will get an error. So cargo run, and the error is patterns I32. I mean, whatever, basically just don't assign two constants. That will be the error. So help introduce a variable instead, y var, because y is interpreted as constant pattern and not a variable. So I mean, you understand why are you trying to assign to some constants? Try to use some other variables. That's it. So that is how we basically handle variables. And lastly, we will discuss about scopes. And that is something like this. So here, if I give another curly braces and inside, I basically declare x as 6. And then outside, let me just change this back to x. And then we are doing one print x here, and basically in three places. Now, if I simply do cargo run, you will see I have x equals to 5, then x equals to 6, and lastly, x equals to 5 once again. So what is happening over here? So what is happening is simple, and that is the value of x is basically getting dropped after this curly braces. And that is why the x here, that is in line number 8, is basically accessing this value. And that is the basic crust. So this is something we call as scopes, and you also know it from JavaScript. And that is something that is also valid in Rust. So I would say that's it about variables in Rust. And in the next video, we will discuss something very important once again, and that is about data types. So if you have learned something new in this video, consider liking the video. It gives me a lot of motivation to create a lot more videos like this. And see you once again in another Rusty video.